All right, folks, it is time for another weekly project update for St. Simon's Elementary. I've got this site plan in front of me to give reference to where I'm standing, which is here. Just as a reminder, what we have done in the past on this campus, we built up a new kitchen, new administration building, a new two-story classroom addition, and a new gymnasium, and we're now renovating what was previously a classroom and is currently being used as a cafeteria. And the reason that I have this site plan in front of me is to talk about this bus access road that we've got. And we've completed that bus access road from Demere up to about this point and left off from here to here. But we've completed our heavy duty concrete paving at the kitchen so that as they use it, they can receive their food to make meals. Now, in the next coming days, we will pour this concrete curb, and then we'll also establish the remainder of our bus access road here. And the reason that we held off on that previously is because we had a transformer that served the two-story classrooms that were in use before we started renovating them. But we could not do this portion because we had a transformer that was sitting right here. You can actually see the old electrical wires that served it. And it's really inefficient to do small portions, what we would say small portions. This is maybe, 500 feet of road. However, the school district has come to us and said, hey, Mr. Contractor, if you can get the remainder of the access road in now that the transformer is demolished, then we will give you the cafeteria that we're currently using to serve students 2 weeks before school lets out. And we said, absolutely, we can make that happen. And so beginning on May 13th, which is 2 weeks before school gets out, the kitchen over here, they'll actually start exporting food from the back of the house onto that heavy duty concrete paving. And then they're gonna serve it in reverse of the flow of the access road up to our gymnasium beyond the way. And so tomorrow you'll see concrete coming in. They've got all of their forms poured up for this curb. They're going to pour that concrete, and then in the days after that, they'll bring in graded aggregate base for this road to be nice and compacted and easy to drive on, and also limit the amount of dust that is distributed. Now, the other thing that we've got going on in the back of the house is our masonry. So you see in front of me that we've got masonry block, and then you see we've got existing area here where masonry has been demolished. And so we poured this new concrete that you can see, that nice new gray to serve as a footer for our masonry block. And that's going to start taking place tomorrow. Now you might ask yourself, why is it that such a large section of wall had to be demolished? Well, the reason for that is because this transformer that was right here had feeds that went underground and then up the wall here and penetrated overhead at about 10 feet into the masonry wall. And because it had such a large amount of conduits that fed into it, the brick had settled and cracked, and we weren't able to save it. So that's where our new concrete slab and footer comes in. Again, our masons are going to come in tomorrow and they're going to start laying this block up. One thing that they will not do is lay the masonry veneer. That will be done at a later date, but for right now, we just want to make the most of our time before we're limited on what we can do on the back of the house, because there's going to be so much food being delivered. We don't want to have masons over here with forklifts and lulls and scaffolding stirring up a bunch of dust. So that's what's going on in the back end of the house. Again, pouring concrete for curbs, going to put in our graded aggregate base, and we're going to lay some masonry block. Now, let's walk to the front of the house where our classrooms are and see what we've done in the last 2 weeks. All right, on to the front of the house. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is windows. So before we did anything to this building, there were 6 windows within this opening, and the 6 windows were separated by 2 steel columns. So you had 2 windows here, 2 windows here, and 2 windows here. And that's the same thing that we want to go back with, but in order to do that, we've got to install a little bit of rough carpentry. And so you can see that we've got a perimeter rough carpentry in place on this one, but nothing else. If we hop over here to our left, you can see that we've got our rough carpentry set up in place to be installed first thing tomorrow morning on our steel columns. And then if we hop one more window beyond, you can see an opening that is totally prepped for the installation of windows. And the reason that we get these openings set into place is for us to do something that's called field measurements. In a perfect world, we could buy a 48-inch window and install a 48-inch window, but humans are imperfect, and because of that, our window subcontractor wants to take rough opening dimensions so that he can then fabricate his frames against that. We totally get it. So we're getting all of our rough carpentry in place so that on Monday he can come and do his field measurements, and then 4 to 5 weeks after, we can start thinking about installing windows. That's what's going on the exterior of the building. Now let's go on to the interior and talk about what we've got going on there. All right, I'm now standing inside of a classroom that we have done a ton of work in. And the first thing that I'm going to talk about is floors. So I think last week we talked about how the existing slab on grade had a lot of leveling compound and adhesive, and we needed to strip that up so that we could expose the slab on grade in preparation for potential slab replacement, and then also in preparation for our moisture mitigation system, because we do not have a vapor barrier underneath this slab since it was poured in 1943. That was just technology that wasn't available then. And so you can see in this room that we've taken up all of that adhesive and self-leveling compound, and this is an example of an area that we will 100% have to replace. In order to install our LVT, which is what goes inside these classrooms, LVT is luxury vinyl tile. It's a resilient flooring. You've got to have a nice smooth level substrate, and this obviously is not smooth and level. So tomorrow at our owners meeting, we'll talk about that. Hey, Mr. Architect, hey, Mr. Owner, we understand that you aren't expecting perfection, but this is just something that we can't live with. What's our next step? The other thing that we've done in our classrooms is our metal framing. So in our walls, or in our classrooms, we've got two elevations of walls that won't receive new metal framing. And that's the corridor side, and then also what we call a wet wall side. And the wet wall only means it has a sink for teachers to use. Remember, this is an elementary school. They don't want kids going to bathrooms alone. So that's what we've got going on. You can see that we've framed up for our cabinets here, and then we've also started our HVAC rough-in and electrical rough-in for our split systems to serve this room. We've also done our metal framing here in combination with our preparation for windows, and then also at our window heads, which will have gypsum come in, and then this pocket that you see, that elevation difference, or really the dimensional difference between this vertical plane and that vertical plane, is where we're going to install our blinds. So that's what we've got done on the interior of the building. The other thing that we have started is our HVAC duct, which is fantastic. Certified Electric out of Brunswick is doing a fantastic job for us. You can see we've already got duct hung and a lot of it. So that's what we've got going on the interior of the building. Those activities are going to continue for 2 weeks. And really things are rocking and rolling smoothly. I paused to say that because I'm going to jinx myself, but we talked about how we've got the HVAC contractor who started overhead, our electrical started overhead, and here in 2 weeks we're also going to release our fire sprinkler to run overhead. They've already got their mains ran. We had to run these mains through the building to serve the kitchen that we were talking about from our new utility stub-ups that are in our 2-story classrooms. And so those guys will come in here. Our fire sprinkler contractor will actually core into his pipe so that he can make his branch lines, and then likewise with our plumber, except for our plumber has already made his stub outs to serve each classroom. The most important thing that I can do to help my team in the next week is to make sure that my predecessor activities, things like flooring, casework, marker boards, tack boards, blinds, all of that stuff is ordered and on its way so that as we progress, it is ready for installation without delay and without manipulation to our schedule to reorient task relationships. That's it. Thanks for watching this video. Hope you have a great day.